Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you some books that I think are the perfect transition out of the summer and into the fall. So these books for me do have that late summer feeling, but they have a darker twist to them. So I hope that you will enjoy this list of books. I hope you will check them out, and I think I can explain a little bit better what I mean when I just get started. So these are in no particular order. The first book I want to recommend is Small Favors by Erin E. Craig. This is a book where we're looking at quite an isolated community. They are living somewhere where there's a lot of woods around, and they have quite a long travel to the next town where they get their supplies. And when we start following this story, there has been one group of men who set out to get supplies, but they never returned. And now it is getting late in the year, and it is unclear what the village should do next. And we're following this from the perspective of one girl in one family, and her family, they're the beekeepers of this town. And yeah, we just see what happens as this town gets more and more isolated as the winter creeps in. And I really enjoyed this. This is definitely a very slow story, one where the creeping feeling just gets worse and worse, and you don't even really know why. You don't really know what's out in those woods. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and this is just a great story to get into this creepy mood. Another book, and both of these are YA, that I wanted to recommend is Harrow Lake by Ellis. And this is a book that has one of my favorite tropes, and that is when it has something to do with movies. And I think we are following a girl, and it's a bit hazy in my mind. I definitely need to reread this one, but I think we're following a girl who goes back to the town where her mother once was involved in some kind of a movie. I don't know if she starred in the movie or whether she directed the movie, something like that. And while in this town, this girl is kind of discovering the secrets behind her mom. And this was, again, a book I really enjoyed. It has been a couple of years now, so the plot is a bit hazy, but I still remember the themes, and there's definitely something very dark lurking in this town for our main character, and I just liked how it was dealt with in a way. Then another YA story, one I think is perfect for this time of year, is Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand. This is a book where we follow three girls, and they are all in this small town, I think on an island, where girls go missing. And we have one of those girls, who knows why. And this one, it's just so atmospheric, but it has this kind of end of summer vibe. I wouldn't say it's like a complete autumn feel that you get in this story, at least in my mind. I remembered more of a summertime setting, but it is dark and disturbing what is happening to these girls in this town. I think this is also a sapphic book, and just the relationships with these girls were very interesting. Not only romantic relationship, but also all the other kinds of relationships that we see portrayed. So yeah, this is one I highly recommend, and another one I would love to reread sometime. Another YA, I don't know why, but I just like the creepy YA books. Sadie by Courtney. A couple of years ago, this book was all the rage. People loved it so much. And this is one that you should listen to as an audiobook, because it has a part in it that is in a podcast style. So we have kind of two narrations. We have one narration from the point of view of Sadie, the main character. And she is kind of on a revenge quest. And then we have the podcast, who is years later, and they're trying to uncover what happened to Sadie. So we already kind of know what might happen at the end, but it's also not so sure, because the podcast tries to uncover what really happened. And this was a great book about, yeah, just the dangers of being a girl, about female rage, and I just really enjoyed it. And I especially enjoyed the ending. The way it ends is really great. And then if you want a more adult version of this, where I feel like the themes are very similar, but it is a bit more creepy because we have ghosts involved, that would be The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. And I love this book. It's so great. Again, in this one we have two perspectives. We have a woman who is living or moving to a town where her aunt disappeared, but we are also following her aunt in the past. So we kind of learn what happened to the aunt while we see the aunt, but also what her niece is discovering about it. And this has kind of like this small town feel, and yeah, we have this kind of investigation going on, but then, as I said, there's also ghosts. And I actually had a couple of moments with the audiobook that really scared me, because like I like the the very low level haunted things, you know, just doors opening and closing on their own and stuff like that. That's what creeps me out. So I really like this book. Okay, now we're talking about adult books. I have to mention my favorite book for the end of summer, even though it is a very problematic one, and I don't know if I would really recommend it, but then I have so much nostalgia for this book that I can't not mention it. And that is It by Stephen King. This is the perfect summer book with horror, in my opinion. I love it so much. And as I said, it's problematic as hell. We are following a group of teenagers in the late 50s in Derry, Maine, and they are hunting a monster. And then we are also following them as adults coming back to that town. And I love this book. It just has the perfect kind of summer holiday feeling when you were a kid and you just had weeks and weeks off school in summer and your parents were working or something, so they couldn't like watch you 24/7, and you just meet up with your friends and you get into trouble. That is what I love about this book. But then also the horror is actually scary to me, which not many, actually only this one Stephen King book ever did, because all of the other Stephen King books I've tried, they put me to sleep. But this one is actually scary and I love it. And it is over 1,000 pages, so I'm not rereading it every year, but maybe next year. Maybe next year reread is coming up. I think I'm gonna mention the last adult book on my list next, and then we're going back to some YA recommendations. The last adult one would be Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. Now again, can I really recommend this book? No. But do I love it so much that I have to mention it? Yes. This is a very divisive book. Some people love it and a lot of people hate it, and I don't think you will know where you land without giving it a try. So maybe just give it a try. But this is, in the weirdest way, a haunted house story. We are following our main character as she gets a call from her mum, and they're kind of estranged. And the mum is like, I'm not gonna live for much longer, please come back home. And so our main character decides to go back home to start preparing the house to be sold because she doesn't want the house. And then we see what happens to her when she goes back to the house. We uncover a lot about her childhood, which was very traumatizing because her father is actually a serial killer. And I just, yeah, it's so weird. It's such a weird book, but it just spoke to my soul. It spoke to the little girl inside me who grew up in a broken home. And so, yeah, I really like this book. But as I said, a lot of people don't, and that's fine. That's fine, we can all have our opinions. So let's go back to some YA recommendations that I think are not that controversial. Next up, we have kind of like a back to school kind of dark academia suggestion, and that would be Ace of Spades by Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé. This is a book that I loved. This book is in a way so much fun, but deals with quite heavy topics as well, because in this book we are following two black teenagers who go to this very prestigious school where they are basically the only two black kids. And I think they're in their final year there and stuff starts going very wrong. Our male main character is gay and he's hiding that from his family, and our main female character, she is kind of like the queen bee, like she was the cool girl, the rich girl, but now things start to shift. And so these are like very different characters who didn't really have anything to do with each other, but because of what's going on, they're kind of forced to work together. And I loved how this book managed to make both of these characters so important. Like, not one of these could have done it without the other one, and I think that is very difficult to do in a realistic way. And this book totally did it, and I just love the themes. I love these two characters, and I would highly recommend this book. Like, if you're looking for a dark academia read, this is one of the few that I've really enjoyed. And then we have two books that I feel like are super popular already, but I still wanted to give them a quick shout out. The first one being Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. It has been a couple of years, but I think there's actually gonna be another book in that world or something like that, like a sequel, a prequel, I don't know. But something is going on there. I think next year. But Cemetery Boys, we are following a trans boy who wants to summon the ghost of his cousin who went missing, and instead summons a very different ghost. But then they have to go and search for the reason why that other boy he summoned is dead in the first place. And this is a kind of fantasy romance, but has like these darker elements, because we have a ghost, we have like witchy magic. And yeah, it's great. It's a great read. It's really fun. I think that because of the romance, the actual plot gets a little bit lost with the cousin. That is like my biggest complaint, because like if my cousin was dead, I would care a little bit more, but just saying. But yeah, overall a very, very fun book if you like these like YA romances with a little bit of a darker twist. And last but not least, I think the book that needs no shout out at all would be The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Again, this is a book that to me kind of has this back to school feeling, because we're following a group of boys who I think go to this like private school, and they all have these like ravens on their school uniform, and that's why they're the Raven Boys. And then we have a female main character, I think Blue. Is that her name? I don't remember. And yeah, they are kind of setting out to find a dead Welsh king. And this has to do with like landlines, and I think all of the like women in our female main characters' families are clairvoyant or something like that. And there is kind of a prophecy about our main character that when she kisses her true love, he will die, something like that. And yeah, it has these like spooky vibes, but it also has just this like friendship group coming together, and all of these boys are very different. And I have a clear favorite, I'm not going to tell you. But yeah, this was just a fun series, and again one that I would like to reread soon, especially because I haven't read the other series that is kind of a spin-off of the Raven Cycle. So we'll see when I get to that. But these would be my suggestions if you're looking for books that carry you over from the late summer into the fall, where all the spooky books are awaiting us. I would love to hear if you have books like that still give you that like late summer feeling, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye!